Jets fans, we got some breaking news as the team has signed wide receiver Tim Patrick. This just came in just about 30 minutes ago from Rich Cimini. Just add some veteran presence to this wide receiver room. This was kind of a question for the Jets headed into the season. Who's going to be that wide receiver for? This is Jet Sport, by the way. We're presented by PrizePicks. My name is Mike Jaraputo. We had Patrick. Really not too much of an impressive season last year. Just the 15 catches and the 187 yards. 3 touchdowns. But as I said, just a veteran presence in this Jets room. Right now, the wide receiver 4 would have been Arian Smith. So you're bringing a guy like Tim Patrick just to compete with a guy like Smith. Here are the details that just came in from Zach Rosenblatt. Gets around the vet minimum, just about $1.5 million. He did have some interest from some other teams. Apparently, it's some interest from some other teams, this being Tim Patrick. And they view him as a culture guy, quality veteran depth position. And Zach Blatt said it best. We did need this in terms of the wide receiver room for the Jets. If we want to just take a look at that wide receiver room, Dylan, and then we could, I think we just kind of needed that veteran depth in the receiver room. ESPN actually listed that as our biggest need headed into 2026, which I thought was crazy, but they did mention the fact that the wide receiver 4 slated going into this year was supposed to be Arian Smith, and if we want to look how it looks at now, how it turns out now, got Garrett Wilson there as the 1, obviously Adonai Mitchell. The 2, I have him in there right now just as the 2 because Omar Cooper probably going to play mainly in the slot for us. He did play mainly in the slot over there at Indiana, probably about 85% of the time. And Tim Patrick down there right underneath Garrett Wilson. I would assume that Patrick is going to be the wide receiver 4 on this football team. Arian Smith really wasn't supposed to be used as much as he was last year. We just dealt with so many injuries, and I think this is another reason why this is a pretty good signing for the New York Jets. Patrick He missed all of 2022 and 2023 with he tore his right ACL and his left Achilles. So 2 injuries on both. 2 of the injuries that you fear the most on his opposite legs. So we know why Tim Patrick hasn't really been the same player as we saw last season. Just 187 yards for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The 3 drops you don't love to see from Tim Patrick. And if we want to take a look at what he's done throughout his career, we know that 22 and 23, little blank there because he did miss it with the right ACL at first and then the left Achilles in the following year. So just really a brutal stretch of luck for a guy like Tim Patrick. But 2021 and 2020, this was a guy that you look at him on, maybe he's the kind of guy that you would look at he's on fantasy waivers. He's projected about 11 points. Should I flex him this week? He was that level of player for the Broncos. About 740 yards both of those years, 6 touchdowns 2020. And the 5 in 2021. And then the last 2 seasons for him, about 400 yards with Detroit. It is definitely worth noting that he was with Aaron Glenn in Detroit in 2024. Aaron Glenn's obviously his last year as the DC of that team for the Lions. And I got to say, again, this adds a lot of depth to this wide, not a lot of depth. It adds just a little bit more, the fact that we have Tim Patrick, because if any of our top 3 receivers went down, whether it's Wilson, whether it's Cooper, whether it's Adonai Mitchell, you're looking at a situation where Arian Smith would have had to have been your wide receiver 3. And we don't really want to see that again. I mean, last year he was battling for a wide receiver 1 on this team with Adonai Mitchell. And that's just a situation that I don't want to see as a fan, and you don't want to see it as a fan. But guys, give me a letter grade for this signing and Tim Patrick. Again, just about a year, $1.5 million, just around the vet minimum for Tim Patrick. Give me a grade on this signing. Give me an A, B, C, D, or an F. I'm going to go with a B+ because, he's not too great of a player anymore. But again, add some depth to this receiver room that desperately needs it. Before we go any further, I got to thank today's sponsor, and that is our friends over at PrizePicks. The playoffs are here for basketball. Baseball is underway, and it's time to cash in with PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 sports picks app, and it's the best place to win cash while you're watching sports. The app, it's really easy to use. You just pick more or less on a few player stats and you lock in your lineup. With the new social feeds feature, you can share PrizePicks with your friends and copy lineups like these with just a single click. Tonight's action, we got Donovan Mitchell, more than 8.5 field goals made. Evan Mobley, more than 3.5 assists. And Jalen Duren, less than 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists. So those lineups, you can share them with your friends with a single click. That includes myself and my producer, Dylan. You can follow me at PrizePicks. At Mike Jaraputo, no spaces there. You can tail my picks, or you can fade them if you think I'm an idiot, and you can get the picks before they even get posted here on the Jets Report. And with the New Year's offer, you can download the PrizePicks app today with the link in the comments and the description and use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. And one thing that the Jets got right just today was adding Tim Patrick. I think just you look at this receiver room, past Wilson, past Mitchell, past Omar Cooper. Look, we got pretty unlucky with injuries last season, okay? The fact that Arian Smith was seeing significant snaps as a receiver, Isaiah Williams was seeing significant snaps, A.D. Mitchell was the freaking wide receiver one of this football team last year. Garrett missed most of last season, probably about 60% of last season. I don't want that to happen again. If a guy like Garrett goes down, if any of these top three guys go down, having a guy like Tim Patrick behind him would be pretty damn big for the Jets. And when you look around the offense, the Jets are actually building something here to be set up for whoever their next quarterback's going to be. Look, I'm not going to stand here and tell you it's Cade Klubnik. I'm not sure if it's going to be Cade Klubnik, but whether it's this year, next year, just add as many pieces as we possibly can. Obviously, just re-sign Breece Hall to that 3-year, $45 million deal. You got Breece there, and then you take a look at the tight ends. Really went from a room that was probably bottom 10 in all of football. You add Kenyon Sadiq. You still have Mason Taylor. You have Jeremy Ruckert there as one of the better blocking tight ends in all of football. And you take a look at that, and you go, wow, the Jets actually have pretty legitimate weapons now. Like, this isn't a situation where it's next year and you're seeing, hey, the Jets have a top 5 pick and they're going to get a quarterback. And maybe the comments won't all be like, damn, whoever goes to the Jets is screwed. Or, man, that poor guy that's going to get drafted by the Jets. Maybe we're changing that image. I feel like Darren Muji especially is one of those guys that, first of all, for the first time in a very long time. And Joe Douglas, he had his moments, all right? He'll always have the 2022 draft. Congrats, Douglas. But this actually feels like a GM that is in charge, respected around the league, and knows what the hell he's doing. For once with this Jets team. I'm not just basing this off the fact that we signed Tim Patrick. Like that, it's a, in the greater scheme of things, less significant signing than obviously some of the things we've done in the offseason in the NFL draft. But overall, I love the signing. You guys will let me know down in the comments below. I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. A little breaking news for you with our Jets. Thank you very much. Leave a comment down below. I'll be responding to all you guys. And as always, JTS, Jets, Jets, Jets.